You're listening to the SmartGirls Guide to BC Family Law. In today's episode, we are discussing
the real deal of divorce in BC.
So don't go anywhere. Hi, this is the SmartGirls Guide to BC Family Law, and we're here to help you understand and navigate the confusing aspects of divorce and litigation.
Going through a divorce can be emotionally draining, confusing, and incredibly expensive.
Trust us, we know.
But it doesn't have to be. Listen, we're not lawyers, but we do have personal experience as successful, self-represented litigants. And we want you to learn from our costly mistakes and give you the inside secrets we wish we had.
Look, our goal is to teach you the rules of this game, how the BC family law system works, and the steps you can take to reach a resolution as quickly as possible while spending as little money as possible.
Whether you decide to self-represent or hire a lawyer, this podcast is for you. Disclaimer, we're not lawyers and nothing herein is legal advice, but educational content and personal insight only. So welcome everyone to our first episode here at the Smart Girls Guide to BC Family Law. We're excited to be chatting with you about our experiences and our personal stories and how we ended up here and our own divorce cases, and hopefully share with you some insights that can help you and save you a lot of money.
Absolutely, Sophia. So I'm Farah, and I was married for 15 years. I had 3 children and was in a traditional marriage, I would say, where I gave up my career when I was 35 to stay at home and raise our kids. And my former husband stayed employed, got to continue on with his career and build his success while I tended the house. We spent the 10 years after we separated really focused on our kids and the issues related to the kids. And so our finances did not get dealt with at our separation. We did get a divorce several years later, but the financial pieces had not been dealt with. And so I came to the point where I had to get that resolved. I did have counsel, very good counsel, but very expensive counsel. And it quickly became prohibitive, and I wasn't going to be able to afford to keep a family lawyer on the file. And so I decided in January of 2021 to self-represent. My trial, 18-day trial, was in November of 2021. And I'm pleased to say that I was substantially successful and was able to win on all of the issues that were to be addressed by the court in our matter, namely child support, spousal support, and property and asset division. So that's me.
It's amazing. And I think it's so important to hear that it's possible and it can be done. I know for my situation, it was very, very different, and I can give you a bit of context. So I was married an incredibly short amount of time, less than 2 years. We didn't cohabit prior to getting married. And my divorce and litigation took longer than the entire relationship.
That's crazy. Like, that's just wrong.
It was nuts. I was the defendant, so I was not the one who brought the litigation.
So you were the respondent.
It was my ex. Yes. What happened in my situation was 3.5 years of litigation to get back to the original agreement that we had agreed to. And I worked with lawyers. It was incredibly expensive. I was not getting a resolution. My case was so simple, and I just could not understand what was going on here. Eventually, I decided, for cost reasons primarily, and for lack of a resolution, just to take matters into my own hands. And within 4 months, I was able to resolve my entire case.
You go, girl. And that's the way to do it.
It was just crazy. And, from personal experience, this just happened recently as well for me within the last year. I just feel like we need to share this information with other people that are in our shoes. And, I was reading some quotes, Farah, online on YouTube of other self-represented litigants or other people that have experienced similar things like this. And I just wanted to share a few because it really did strike a chord. So one person said here, with nearly 70% of individuals becoming self-represented litigants, family lawyers are just very expensive. And you need to know what you're doing before you start your litigation so you can save money and do things correctly. Another person said here, if I can pull it up here, lawyers are great and they work effectively if you're able to give them the right information and as long as you're able to tell them exactly what you need. The problem with family law is a lot of times it's very emotionally stressful and you're under a lot of duress and lawyers are charging an incredible amount of money. So self-representing gives you the control over your finances and you know the case the best. I'm not saying not to work with a lawyer at all, but know how to work with a lawyer in the right
And
way.
that's such a valid point, is that if you can figure out the questions to ask, the pieces of information that are really critical, and all of the different steps that you have to go through to get to a resolution, whether it's, by agreement with a settlement or in a trial, if you knew all of those steps along the way, you would be so much better equipped and prepared to deal with a lawyer if you're using one. And certainly if you're not, to just know what you're going to be facing and what the steps are, right?
Exactly.
Like that was, I think, one thing that really um, sort of stuck out for me, is that I wish I'd known this is what it's going to take to get to trial. You don't just get up one morning and say your trial is
Mm-hmm.
going to happen tomorrow. There's a lot of steps in between, applications that need to be heard, discoveries, disclosure, a lot of pieces that have to be put into place before you actually get to the trial.
100%. And it's like, how can you play the game of chess without
Right,
knowing the
exactly.
rules?
And so I think that's what we're trying to do, right, Sophia? Is we want to give people, these are the rules of the game. These are the things you need to know as you navigate this process. I mean, family courts are there for parties that are, separating, divorcing. But there's a lot of little pieces that they don't necessarily tell you, that you have to kind of really work hard to
Mm-hmm.
find the right information and
Mm-hmm.
how to go about it. What do you call a judge when you're in court? All of those pieces is what I think
Mm-hmm.
we're wanting to help people try and figure out, so that we can effectively hold your hand through this process, right? Wouldn't it have been great if we'd had someone to
Absolutely.
hold our hand and say, it's okay, you're
Oh
going
my
to get through
gosh.
this, and here's what you need to know.
Tell me about it. And lawyers are busy. They don't have the time to invest. Well, they do have the time to
But
invest, but
they're
it's going
going
to
to charge
cost you
you
an
for
arm and a
every
leg.
6
So
minutes they talk to you.
exactly. And it's like you almost need a coach to kind of get through this and explain how the whole process works. And I mean, for me, looking back, had I known what I know now, I would have done things completely differently. I would have stayed way
Yeah.
more organized. I was so naive to think that this would have been resolved quickly. I was dealing with a very
Mm.
contentious, I would say honestly, controlling, abusive, my ex, who was using the legal system to kind of get back to me. And it was a very
Yeah.
emotionally driven
Yeah.
litigation that was baseless. And, naively, I thought, okay, well, this is going to get resolved very quickly, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we're here really just to tell you, like, you can do it. Here are the steps to take. Here's what you can expect, and work backwards from how things are going to happen
Yeah.
to today's date, and like give you the inside, scoop of really what you need to do, how you need to set yourself up for
Yeah.
success, the questions you should be asking your lawyer, how to even find a lawyer, what's going to happen in your family law litigation. Hopefully you don't have to go to trial. Hopefully you can reach a resolution before. The information is out there, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of information and it can be very overwhelming to navigate. And I know, Farah, like when you and I connected, you were so helpful in like coaching me through a lot of the steps. And that gave me so much
Mm-hmm.
support to know, like, okay, I can do this. Here's what I can expect. Um, and here's how it's all going to come together. So I would say, like, please join us for these episodes to come, where we're going to dive into everything specifically. I think we should kind of end off with some
Yeah.
key takeaways. Like, what are some of the key things that, let's say you're just getting separated right now and you're in a divorce situation. What would you advise?
So
What's a
for
key
me,
takeaway?
number one, set up a separate email account. Call it family law, Farah at Gmail, whatever you want to call it, but have a separate email where you can direct and receive and send all of your correspondence with the other party, with the other lawyer, with the court, with anything that you need to do. So that, I think, is one definite takeaway. And then two is documents, documents, documents. You need the documents, you need the financial statements, you need copies of what your assets are. You need to know all of that. And if you don't have it, you're going to have to go about getting it through applications for disclosure. But documents and organization, as you said, I think are the most important pieces as you're just getting started.
I totally agree. And honestly, for those of us joining, hopefully you're not in the middle of a divorce right now. Maybe you're looking to separate. I'm not sure what step you're joining us at, but I would say it's really good to educate yourself before you're
Mm-hmm.
separating as well, because there are a lot of key things that can happen that trigger certain events from a legal perspective. I'd agree with you, Farah. I think the most important thing that I would tell anyone that's kind of going down this path is to stay organized. There are going to be so many documents, so many pieces of paper, so many different forms to be filed. It can be incredibly overwhelming and confusing. I wish I had not just relied on my lawyer to stay organized, because actually
Yeah.
he wasn't at all. And he really messed things up from the beginning, which created
So
so
much
much
more
work
work
for
for
me
you
to
to fix,
fix
right?
in
So
the
if you
end.
can start at the outset. And listen, if you're at home thinking, my marriage is over, I don't know what I'm going to do, take your time and start to gather the documents. Set up a new email account for yourself. Start to put stuff in a Google Drive or in an online folder that you can keep track of what you know and what you need to know. Bank statements, financial statements, copies of any information about assets you might own are
Mm-hmm.
really, really important pieces to have at the beginning, so that as you move through this and either work with a lawyer on a full-time basis, on an unbundled basis, which means you only pay them for a little bit of
Yeah.
their time to just review things and give you a little bit of advice. We'll talk about, I think, at some point, legal coaches, paralegals. So we just want to make sure that if, you find yourself in this situation, and we know that the divorce rates in Canada are on the up and up, it's over 50% now, that you can do this yourself. We want to be able to support you and help you and provide, I think, a source of inspiration and hope and advice,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. No one's going to care about your situation
Exactly.
as much as you do.
Exactly.
And you have a right to know exactly what's going on and how to resolve it, and have all the tools in your toolbox to make the best decisions moving forward. So we're really excited to, I guess, journey with you on this and share experiences. And next week we'll be getting into more of the nitty gritty of how to do this, or next episode, I should say. So stay
Come
tuned.
back, everyone. It was great to chat with you.
Head on over to smartgirlsguide.ca for free and paid resources to help you with your divorce. That's SmartGirlsguide.ca.
Disclaimer. We are not lawyers, and nothing herein is legal advice but educational content and personal insight only.
Catch you on the next episode of Smart Girls Guide to BC Family Law. Bye!
Bye!